Welcome to Just a Minute. Thank you. Hello. My name is Nicholas Parsons, and as the minute waltz fades away, once more it's my huge pleasure to welcome our many listeners in this country and around the world, but to welcome 4 exciting, talented, humorous, and delightful individuals who are going to show their verbal ingenuity and dexterity and their sharpness and wit as they try and speak on a subject that I give them, and they try and do that without hesitation, repetition, or deviation. And they are seated on my right, Paul Merton and Hesketh-Harvey, and seated on my left, they are Gyles Brandreth and Shappi Khorsandi. Would you please welcome all 4 of them? Beside me sits Sarah Sharp, who's going to help me keep a score and blow a whistle when the 60 seconds have elapsed. And we have a delightful audience here, eager and ready for us to start. So let's begin the show with Hesketh-Harvey. Kit, what an interesting subject for this show. What others find irritating about me? What others find irritating about me? Hesketh-Harvey, starting now.
I suppose it's the same as any homme d'un certain âge. It's the snoring. I've tried those prognathic, prosthetic things that make you look like Philip of Spain. I've dangled upside down from the bedpost. I've given up smoking and whiskey late at night. No pillows. It's hopeless. I sound as though the Olympic Village is being built in my bed. I sometimes wake myself up. It's desperate, and I come down in the morning shambling and exhausted, with my wife fuming at me, saying, "How could you?"
Charles, you challenge.
I thought he was on the way to a wonderful 1-minute one, but I'm afraid there was definitely a hesitation.
Yes.
There was a hesitation. Yes.
Sleeplessness
I
caught
listened
up
to
with
it,
me.
Giles. I agree with you. He did a half-minute to go on that because there's 29 seconds available. Giles, you tell us something about what others find...
How many seconds has he got?
He's got 29 seconds.
Really?
What others find irritating about me, Giles, starting now.
In a word, nothing. Either that or...
Paul challenged.
So I can't make it go off. Just like the thing just took on a life of its own there. Well, I think there must be some things that people would find irritating about Giles.
I was about to go on to it, because I actually, when you interrupted...
We said nothing.
No, you said nothing to begin with.
Either that or I was going to...
No, you said nothing, and we take that as nothing. Paul, correct challenge. Oh, yes. 27 seconds. What others find irritating about me, starting now?
They can't stand my constant attempts to impersonate Nat King Cole. Smile, though your heart is aching. And I do that all the time. I go into shops and people say, "What would you like today, sir?" And I start singing something from that golden...
Giles.
Deviation.
Why?
Because I have to say, I've got a record of Paul Merton sings Nat King Cole. It's a particular favourite in our family. I think the way he does it is smooth, it's exciting. There's a kind of sort of subtext of held-back sexuality. It's wonderful, and I recommend it as for everybody's Christmas stocking.
That balances out the bad review I got in NME.
Nobody finds that irritating. Nobody finds Paul's Nat King Cole irritating.
No, he's quite right. I've done concerts. They do love it.
Giles, I think you're talking rubbish. We're still with you, Paul. 14 seconds. What others find irritating about me, starting now?
In the past, I have won Just a Minute quite a few times, which I don't think is particularly good for the game. I like to enjoy playing, of course, but...
Kid challenge.
I'm stopping him from winning the game, is that right?
But you're not, because you've given me a point for a wrong challenge.
Paul, an incorrect challenge. You've still got 5 seconds. What others find irritating about me, starting now?
I do take contracts out on public figures, and people do find that irritating.
Whoever is speaking when the whistle goes gains an extra point. On this occasion, it was Paul Merton. Shappi, we'd like you to begin the next round. Good subject here, baggage. Tell us something about baggage in this game, starting now.
My favourite kind of baggage would have to be emotional baggage. I gather it throughout my life like a collector of things that other people hate. And I like to bestow my emotional baggage upon...
Ah, I know why they've challenged Gyles.
A repetition of emotional baggage?
It's the subject's baggage, darling.
You know what? I have so much emotional baggage that's what I heard you say. I was so keen to share my emotional
Can I
baggage
say,
with
I
the
don't want
audience.
to appear irritating, so if you'd like to carry on, I'd love to hear more of what you've got to say.
I'm afraid the rules of this game don't permit me to
Well,
get
no,
away
but the
with
other
it.
three can be generous and say, yes, carry on.
Yes.
Yeah, we'd
carry
like
on.
to.
Oh, now. That's so kind.
Right, no, darling, it's baggage, not emotional baggage, and it's 47 seconds starting now.
I like to look at the carousel when I come out of the aeroplane because I always tie a little ribbon around my bag, and then I find that half of England have also tied little ribbons around their ribbons.
Challenge.
No, one singular, one plural. You're
No, but
still
no,
there.
I am
was
still
little.
there.
It's just that Kit is very irritating. and if he concedes it to you, don't be patronised by him. You know,
No, I
way
think
to treat a
you had the
sensible
benefit
person.
of the doubt on the other one, so I've got to
And
give
it
it
was
to you
repetition
again.
of
Right.
little, it wasn't
So,
the-
yes, I know it was, but we're going to let her carry on because otherwise
Well,
it
of
wouldn't
course
be
we
fair.
are. You didn't get it wrong, mate. Sorry, I apologise. I'm
You
withdrawing.
obviously weren't listening. There was a repetition of little and lots of other things, but we want to hear from her on this subject. It wouldn't be fair because otherwise it was somebody else who challenged. Now this time it's somebody different. It wouldn't be fair to go. I'm not. I know I'm talking a lot of. But anyway, let's get on with it. 35 seconds, Shappi. Baggage starting now.
Once when I was in France, they lost my baggage and I was only 12 years old. Luckily, I remembered the word valise and kept saying, ooh, the word beginning with V. That,
Charles challenge.
The word and then the word repeated again.
the word, yes, I did repeat. I just like to keep you on your toes, Gyles Brandreth.
That's right. Yes.
That's the worst place to keep it. He's likely to pounce.
Right. 23 seconds, Giles. You had a correct challenge. Baggage starting now.
The great proverbs of the world include laugh and the world roars with you, snore and you sleep
Kit
alone.
challenge.
Repetition of world.
Yes, the laugh and the world laughs.
Oh, of course.
Yes, of course.
Of course, I'm trying not to be irritating. I'm making these deliberate mistakes. I'm hoping it's working.
Are you peaking a little, you think?
He's having a good look from where I'm sitting.
18 seconds, Kit. Baggage with you, starting now.
Baggage is meant to be a pejorative term. I don't think so. Look at Shappi. She's a sexy little Prada number. Giles, Vuitton, flashing with the...
Shappi challenge.
Sorry, I don't own anything Prada. I mean, who can, only I can tell you what I'm like. If you'd said Mulberry, I wouldn't have buzzed.
No, he was paying you a very nice compliment.
I was complimented.
Yeah, you were complimenting. Good. So you've taken your compliment, but you had an incorrect challenge. Kit's got the subject still. Baggage, 10 seconds, starting now.
I would have said Mulberry was Paul Merton, attractively battered with age. And then there's the little bag for life that is Nicholas Parsons.
Paul challenge.
Have you been going through my bins? He's got me down to a T. That's quite scary.
Right, so what's your challenge with
Nothing, I just bask in the admiration of his accuracy of his summation of my character.
Right. So we enjoyed that very much, Paul. We'll give you a bonus point for that. Kit, you were interrupted. You get a point. You had 3 seconds more on baggage, starting now.
Now that Terminal 5 is in Windsor Castle, the Queen is going through all the rubbish.
So at the end of that round, it was Kit Hesketh-Harvey who was speaking as a whistle when gained that extra point. He's now in second place behind Paul Merton, who's in the lead, and Shappi Khorsandi and Giles are in third place equal. And Giles, we'd like to begin the next round. A fool's paradise. Tell us something about that subject in this game, starting now.
I have lived in a fool's paradise all my life, thinking the world was a friendly place. It isn't. It's a hostile one. But I have treated it like Toyland. Noddy, Big Ears, Mr. Plod, these are the folk heroes for me. I look about me, and when I see Nicholas, I do not perceive a hostile, vicious person, but somebody who is generous, warm, avuncular, a kind of Billy Bunter crossed with Mr. Quelch. A figure...
Deviation. There's no way that Nicholas could be described as a cross between Billy Bunter and Mr. Quelch.
Neither in my figure or my personality.
Yes.
You're like a figure from my childhood. There's something reassuring about you. You're like a sort of character from a cartoon. You're lovely.
Well, you
I
should
think
have
we're
said
still on
that instead of
emotional
what you did say.
I was coming on to say that.
Yeah, right.
But this is like the Prada thing again, you see. This is exactly the same as what happened before. He said something about you that you don't agree with.
No, I didn't. It was Paul who disagreed. And so I had to decide on the challenge, and I think the challenge is legitimate. So, Paul, you have a correct point, and you have 36 seconds of Fool's Paradise starting now.
I rather agree with what Gyles has just said. Maybe there is something to be said. Oh, I've said 4 times.
Gyles, you challenge.
He said 4 times.
He did say so.
I actually said it 3 times.
No, I know that. But I was going along with
his challenge was wrong.
No. A repetition of said.
Don't worry,
poking a
Gyles.
horn
I
in
would
the
have given you. I'm always fair in my decisions, Gyles. A correct challenge. 32 seconds. A Fool's Paradise starting now.
Look at our chairman and you see George Clooney and Kermit the Frog in one suit. A vision of loveliness. A fool's paradise, you may think, but no. A place to live in happiness and security. Of course we are naive.
Kit challenge.
We've had security already.
You've had
from
security before.
His rantings before, I think. His happy little childhood.
His happy childhood,
with
the
Noddy
security,
and Toyland. Yes.
So, Kit, correct challenge. Don't look as if you didn't say it, Gyles. I know you did. 18 seconds for Fool's Paradise starting now.
Your paradise depends on what kind of fool you are. If you're rhubarb, it's the land of green ginger. Gooseberry, it's somewhere where you can have an affair. And if you're an Eton mess, it's the shadow cabinet.
Fool's challenge.
I'm a bit mean, perhaps. It was a bit of a hesitation.
There was actually a correct challenge, but it was such a wonderful statement and such a lovely laugh. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say it wasn't quite enough for hesitation and say you've still got 6 seconds, Kit, on A Fool's Paradise starting now.
That's because Nicholas is in a fool's paradise. He's had his synaptogen. He thinks he's on Bora Bora being fed kumquats by ladyboys.
Sorry, Bora Bora. Is that repetition?
Bora Bora is 2 words.
Is
so
it?
The correct challenge. So you get it all
I wasn't
back.
in the South
You have the benefit of the doubt there. It's right. And you have 1 second, Paul, on A Fool's Paradise starting now.
How lovely to live in Streatham.
So Paul Merton was speaking then as a whistle when gained that extra point. He's now gone ahead of Kit Hesketh-Harvey, and they're followed in by Gyles Brandreth and Shappi Khorsandi in that order. And Paul, it's your turn to begin. My expenses. 60 seconds starting now.
My expenses on Just a Minute are truly huge. I get, in fact, an enormous sum of money, which I do, in fact... Oh.
Kit challenge.
Sorry, in fact.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yes.
He knew he'd said something which was quite fallacious about the
I beg your
huge...
pardon? It's a bit early for that sort of thing, isn't it?
Incorrect about his expenses. Right, 53 seconds with you, Kit. My expenses are starting now.
I'm very aware that you, the licensed pair, are paying for all this, and so I rode in today on Nicholas's private chopper. I ate the lark's tongues when Paul had finished with the rest of the beast, and I'm in a little put-you-up in Giles's butler's pantry in his suite at Claridge's tonight. When Shappi gets...
Giles,
It's a put-you-up with Gyles is just an awful, awful image. And
No deviation. The bit about the butler's pantry, spot on.
But the images he created that what went on there were just a bit overwhelming. Right, Giles, correct challenge. You have 34 seconds on My expenses starting now.
I came here on the tube and was late because there was this enormous sign at the top of the escalator saying dogs must be carried on this piece of machinery. Took me 40 minutes to find one. It is humbling when you have to travel by public transport, but I understand the need for it. I applied to Mark Thompson, the Director General, for a floating duck pond. I said I need it for research in case this subject comes up on Just a Minute, where I'm trying to behave in a very calm and rational way to show that my expenses must not include psychiatric bills. All of us in our time have been through a midlife crisis. For me, this is a particularly acute one.
Kit challenge.
I haven't, actually.
What?
No, I've been through a midlife crisis. And you clearly haven't. Your face is unlined, serene.
So what's your challenge?
Deviation. You haven't been through a midlife crisis.
Did he say we all had been?
We've all been.
So you said everybody had, yeah?
Oh, we had everybody had, yes. I don't know I have or not. Could you tell me?
Unless you're having it now.
Maybe it's coming. That'd be great.
It's a hell of a job if it's a midlife crisis you're having.
I have little...
Early life crisis, Nicholas will live forever.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Right, Kit, a correct challenge. My expenses is with you, and there's only 1 second to go. And you start now.
When Shappi has a massage.
So Kit was then speaking as the whistle went, again that extra point. He's taken the lead again, one ahead of Paul Merton, and then Gyles and Shappi in that order. And Kit, it's also your turn to begin. How lovely subject here, one of my favourite authors, Scott Fitzgerald. Tell us something about him in this game, starting now.
Oh dear, I know all about Scott Fitzgerald. I was in a musical that burnt and crashed in the West End about 5 years ago. Well, it struggled on despite the critics, which is rather what Francis Scott Fitzgerald himself did, the America's greatest writer of prose, probably married to a complete Lala called... Oops, is that a repetition of Lala?
Was she from Bora Bora? This La, is that a repetition of La?
Yes.
I think it probably is, isn't it?
It is.
Yes.
Paul, 44 seconds are available. You tell us something about Scott Fitzgerald, starting now.
My favourite photographer is F. Stop Fitzgerald.
Shappi challenge.
I don't think he did hesitate. I thought he had... F is a funny sort of letter, isn't it? You can sound like you're stammering when you say an F. And I think that's what happened, and I buzzed, and I'd like to retract it. Sorry.
Paul, you have another point. You have 40 seconds. Scott Fitzgerald, starting now.
The great American writer of the 20s. Tender is the night, the great Gatsby.
Kit challenge.
Repetition of great.
Yes, the great
Oh,
writer. Yes, the great
quite
Gatsby.
right.
He came in on the title and in the name. Right, 35 seconds with you, Kit. Scott Fitzgerald, starting now.
He married the beautiful Zelda Sayre, a daughter of a judge in Alabama who quickly took to drink and drugs, as did he. He was a pretty boy of the jazz age. She, in her cups, accused him of having an affair with Ernest Hemingway, which takes a lot of swallowing, I must...
Go on, Shappi. Shappi, you challenged.
I did.
Hesitation, wasn't it?
Yes, I thought it was hesitation, and also, I would happily have had an affair with Hemingway. You know, and I felt, yeah, I would have.
I think you'd have enjoyed Scott Fitzgerald more, darling.
Do you think?
Well, Shappi, I'm glad you were listening so sharply there. And you have 19 seconds. Tell us something about Scott Fitzgerald, starting now.
Scott Fitzgerald is the name.
There was a little bit of a hesitation,
Do you know,
but I'm prepared to let it go.
I don't know why I find saying... I've had this all my life. I find saying Fitzgerald really difficult.
Is that
it's not just within this game.
Your
Don't
other
start with it,
Iranian tongue?
No, it's just throughout my life. There's been... it's Fitzgerald and the word porn... or prawn, I find really... I have a mental block. I just realised that this is part of my emotional baggage that I brought to you.
Would you like to come home with me and watch some prawn?
Is it king-size prawn?
Right.
Let's not go that far.
Right, the benefit of the doubt to you, and you
okay.
carry on.
Scott-
And don't even use
Don't start with it.
Don't start with
No,
it.
I went.
Go off with something else. This amazing American writer. Right, and there are 18 seconds starting now.
This amazing American...
Deviation.
Why?
She didn't start with Scott Fitzgerald.
Give Paul a bonus point, and you've still got the subject. And another point to Shappi. 16 seconds, Scott Fitzgerald starting now.
Scott Fitzgerald is not to be confused with Scott Baio, who was playing a character called Chachi in Joni Loves Chachi, and was also...
Paul
Oh, unfortunately, it was a repetition of Chachi. Which I know is one of those words that pops up in everyday conversation all the time, but it was.
There was a bit too much chachi there, I'm afraid, yes. So, Paul, you have
What's the
another
matter with
point,
you
a
today?
correct challenge, 8 seconds. Scott Fitzgerald starting now.
Robert Redford starred in the film, and he was pretty good, I thought. Mia Farrow played Daisy, and she...
So, Paul Merton, with points in the round and one for speakers, the whistle went as moved forward. He's now taken the lead just ahead of Kit Hesketh-Harvey, and then it's Shappi Khorsandi in third place and Gyles in fourth place. And Shappi, it's your turn to begin.
Okay.
The subject is family get-togethers, and there's no Fitzgerald in that. And you have 60 seconds as usual, starting now.
Family get-togethers always begin so well. You think, oh, whoopee, I'm going to see my mum. As any lady in the audience will know, mums always give their daughters that beautiful, unique gift of low self-esteem. At our family get-togethers, my mother likes to say to me, oh, Shappi...
Gyles challenge.
I think we've had a repetition of mother. We've had mother twice and
No,
mothers
we had
once.
mum and mums, and now it's mother.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right?
That's
So
quite
it's
right.
an incorrect challenge.
I missed a bit because obviously I popped out for a tea during the Just catching up. It's a lovely show, though. Really. Well done.
Another point to you, Shappi, and 43 seconds on family get-togethers starting now.
The woman who gave birth to me at family get-togethers likes to say to me...
I'd like you to expand a little bit on that.
Yeah, I just
Did she
realised...
actually give birth to you at a family get-together? What a marvellous idea. Is this a sort of Iranian tradition? How lovely. Just tell us more.
Giles, you're hectoring her now.
No,
and
I'm not.
interrupting her.
I'm not hectoring her.
All
I
that
really
happens
am
is she
not.
gets another incorrect challenge, another point.
Of course, I
She's
like
moving
that. All
forward.
of that I wanted.
She's overtaking you in leaps and bounds.
I know, I'm planning to lose.
Giles, has my self-esteem not been shattered enough by my own mother that you sit next to me now and criticise everything I say?
Listen, Shappi,
Yeah.
I haven't said start. Now, don't go, because you've just repeated yourself. Listen, there are 38 seconds, family get-togethers starting now.
At family get-togethers...
Get challenged.
That was a yawning one, wasn't
Yes,
it?
it was a...
Do I hesitate, do I, before I
Well,
start?
speak, yes,
I
yes.
didn't
You're
know that
leaving a
about...
mental blank for the word Fitzgerald, which takes at least 3 seconds.
You see, that I didn't realise I do that. That's obviously something
No,
I need to work
you've done
on.
it a bit, but you did it in a major way that time.
Yeah.
Face it, you are playing with people who are not gentlemen.
So can I... Hello? So was that... Hello?
No.
I'm just going to try and practice speaking.
When he says the time starts now, that's when you start.
I just start speaking.
And I always deliberately say, and the time starts now.
And
so
then
you go straight in, you see.
Okay.
On now.
But
no.
everybody knows it's going to come up like that. So you've got your breath in, and then you come out with now.
You know when you're recording your message on your mobile phone for people to listen to, do you get that where it goes, we have to record after the beep, and it goes beep, and you go, hello, this is Shappi. You might not say Shappi, but it's a bit like that. I always notice I go, before I do my message.
Well, I'd try and get out of the habit for just a minute,
For
darling.
just a minute.
So, Kit, you have a correct challenge. 36 seconds. Family get-togethers starting now.
At Hesketh Towers on Walpurgisnacht, we assemble. It's the night when all the spirits of hell are let loose.
Shappi challenge.
It was a hesitation,
It was.
and also I'm dying to do that speaking thing without hesitation.
OK, no, you're up and at it, girl. Go on, and with my blessing.
The audience are watching with bated breath. You've got the system, have you now?
Yes,
I
I
say,
do.
and the times, and that's when you breathe in.
Okay.
And wait a minute, I haven't said it yet. You have 30 seconds, Shappi. Family get-togethers, and the time starts now.
My dad likes to get us drunk at family get-togethers, and we drink wine, and I get very drunk. You see, I just...
There was a curious moment there when the audience hugely cheered when you said your dad likes to get drunk, and everybody went, yes!
And then, bless, the lovely audience applauded, and then I panicked and I repeated.
Yes.
And,
I repeated drink and drug, but we did drink a lot.
darling,
so-
don't go on. I mean, it's Giles.
Yes.
Let's get on with the game this now. shall we?
Sorry, Giles.
Giles, you challenged.
Yes, indeed, repetition.
Yes, you did, right. 23 seconds on... No, is it? Yes. 23 seconds on family get-togethers starting now.
After a good meal, one can forgive anyone, even family, said Oscar Wilde. These family get-togethers are fraught with danger. As a child, I remember them well because of the presence of Auntie Gladys. Not a real aunt, a friend of the family, rather too close to my father, I recall. But that is actually more a matter of family tragedy than get-together. It was the cause of the divorce, the breakdown, the eventual...
Let me tell you what the situation is as we move into the final round. Paul Merton is just in the lead, 2 points ahead of Kit Hesketh-Harvey. Then comes Shappi in a strong third position, just behind Kit, and she's a couple of points ahead of Gyles Brandreth. Paul, we're back with you to start. Okay. The subject is an interesting one, what I make lists about. Or if you want to speak correctly, about what I make lists. And you have 60 seconds starting now.
I make lists about the things that Sir Clement Freud made lists about. For example, cheese, Edam, Brie, Gouda, Limeswold, served in many different countries like Germany, Austria, Australia, Sweden, Czechoslovakia, Hungary, France, Greece, Ireland, the Republic of Somalia, Poland, Johannesburg, Scotland.
Kit has challenged.
Johannesburg isn't a country.
Is it not?
No.
No.
Bless him, bless the
you
great
better cross it
Sherlock
off your
Freud, but
list.
Something had to...
Right. You're quite right. It's not a country, it's a town, a city. 35 seconds with you, Kit, now on what I make lists about, starting now.
As a musician, I'm heavily influenced by Franz Liszt. Just one whiff of a campfire and I get out my fiddle and thrash a quick Shah dash at my audience, or plop myself down beside the Bechstein and toss off a fantasy impromptu. As soon as anyone...
Well, he was talking about tossing off a fantasy. Then he looked at you and his eyes glazed over. And it was hesitation.
Yes, it was.
I could feel the gypsy in me.
I think he was somewhat inhibited by the way you were looking at him, Paul. You were sitting close beside him. But it was a correct challenge. 18 seconds, Paul. What I make lists about, starting now.
It's important when you go shopping to make a list so you know exactly what you're going to buy. For example, eggs, bread, milk, Johannesburg. Johannesburg.
So, Giles, you challenge first.
Yes, there was a hesitation.
There was a hesitation, yes. Don't say it with such surprise.
Well, no,
my
I'm
brother.
just trying to, make up for clearly some misdemeanour on my part.
There's been no
Deep in
misdemeanors.
therapy in this edition, isn't he?
Yes. Well, you have
Hemlock.
8 seconds and a correct challenge.
Good.
Say what I make lists about, starting now.
I make lists about my hopes and dreams, my aspirations, and one of the greatest of them is to come last in just a minute and do so and make people like me.
Well, as I said, that was to be the last round, and Giles, honestly, his modesty is overwhelming, but he did actually finish last. But no, he finished in third place alongside Shappi Khorsandi. They both were in a very strong third place. They were just a few points behind Kit Hesketh-Harvey, and he was only 2 points behind the man who's out in the lead, Paul Merton. So we say, Paul, this week, you are our winner. It only remains for me to say thank you to these 4 delightful players of the game: Paul Merton, Kit Hesketh-Harvey, Gyles Brandreth and Shappi Khorsandi. I thank Sarah Sharp, who's helped me with the score, blown a whistle most elegantly. We're grateful to our producer, Claire Jones. We're deeply indebted to Ian Messiter, who created this amazing game. We're grateful to this lovely, warm, responsive audience here in the Radio Theatre, who've cheered us on our way with charm and éclat. And so from our lovely audience and from our lovely panel and from me, Nicholas Parsons, tune in the next time we play Just a Minute!
And next week, Nicholas Parsons puts the 60-second challenge to Paul Merton, Mike McShane, Paul Sinha and Sue Perkins.